Good day everyone, welcome back to my channel. Now I'd like to welcome to those who are actually new here, and if you have actually missed part 1 and part 2 of this fan experience, right, you can actually click on the link up on the top right hand corner. Today I'm just going to do the part 3 whereby I will test on the fan performance. Now different people have different way of testing fans. I have my own method. I will normally test the fan at full strength, which is actually running on 12 volts, and also on a step down voltage, so that I can test on the airflow and the noise itself. Now before I proceed to show you the device itself, right, I'd like to thank someone very special, Jeffrey, who have actually I've actually met him not very long ago. So he offered to actually borrow some fans that he have for me to do this testing. Now do note that this whole section here, right, I'm not doing reviews on fans. I'm just sharing with you the experience on how I choose a fan. Now with me, right, these are all the devices that I actually make use of. This is actually I call it a fan bus bay, whereby I did it myself, where it connects to the power supply itself and generate 12 volts. So as you can see, the multimeter here, right, this is actually connected to my hub itself, which is generating at 11.82. Now, if a fan were to connect directly to this hub, right, it will run at 12 volts. So let me just show you. Right, so from here, right, I'll gauge how much airflow. There is some apparatus that I've actually made use of to measure the airflow, and to make use of this to detect the noise level, and of course based on my own hearing. And next we'll be stepping down, as in like not running the fan on 12 volts but on a lower voltage, whereby I use this is actually a fan reducer that makes use of a resistor. So let me just show you what it does. So before I connect to this fan reducer, right, it's running on 12 volt, and if I were to connect to this with the resistor onto my hub, it will step down. And how do I know that it's actually a step down voltage? So sorry. Now as I told you, right, this hub here itself is providing 12 volts. So by going through here, right, it will step down. I'll just show you. So as you can see, right, on the multimeter itself, see, it stepped down to 8.3 voltage, meaning to say the fan is actually running on a lower RPM and it's quieter, I should say, and I'm able to actually detect how much airflow it is and the noise level. So this is actually how I do the testing. Now having to say this, right, it's very troublesome to actually just plug in, plug out, plug in, plug out. So what I've actually done is this device, which I've just modified. This hub here, right, is actually a modified version whereby it has a resistor inside. So when I toggle the switch high and low, when I set to low, right, it will activate the resistor itself. Let me just show you. Okay, right now it's actually on high, and I'll just plug to my multimeter so you can actually see what's the rating. So as you can see, at the multimeter itself, right, is 11.7, which is quite near to 12 volt. So if I would to plug my fan, it's going to run at 12 volts. And do note that during the test itself, right, take note on this LED itself. I've actually specially made to be, you know, RGB, so you guys can actually know that this is actually on high. So if I were to toggle on low, see, it brings down the voltage, which is actually the blue LED. So this is actually how I do my testing. Now, I'm just going to bring you to my dashboard and to explain to you the methodology of how I actually test the fans. So let's get to it. Before I start off with the methodology of how I test fans performance, do take note that this is actually not a fan review. I'm just picking up random 120 and 140 mm fans just to share with you how I choose the fans based on their performance. Now, in front of you, the setup itself is pretty straightforward. This whole scenario is simulating as in a case. As you can see, the measuring tape, right, from one end of the fan itself all the way to the HDD cage, this is at 420 mm length, which is quite similar to some of the ATX cases. So do take note on this. Now, the fan position will be fixed, and as I swap, right, it will be always on the same position here. And for this, right, it's also a fixed position. The only thing that you need to take note is this leaflet here. I've pasted a paper on the hard disk cage itself, so when I turn on the fan itself, right, the air will channel through and this will lift up. In fact, this test is good if you have a case to actually do it. So it does channel the air to the appropriate direction. But with this said, right, this will make do for the moment. Now, during the test itself, I will indicate when the fan is running on high, which is 12 volt, or on low, which is of a lower amperage, probably 8 volts. Or you can actually take note on this hub here. When I toggle high, right, you'll be on the left hand side, whereby this LED will light up. If it's on low, you'll be on the right hand side. So once after this test is done, right, you will see simultaneously lots of fans showing in front of you. I should say about 4. Then from there, right, during the test on high and low, or should I say low and high, I will select with a check mark saying that yes, that is the fan that I've actually selected. This is only the first run. Then once that's done, right, I'll proceed on with the noise test. Having the fans that I've chosen, I will do a noise test based on this setup. And how it's been set up, right? Again, the fan is actually on a fixed position and channeling the air, right, not to this meter here, but away from the meter. And do take note that this here, the black ones, the back strips, they are actually anti-vibration, whereby you will absorb the vibration from the fan itself, not causing noise to actually travel from the mat to the decibel meter. And on the decibel meter itself, right, this is positioned in such that I'm actually sitting here and the case fan is over here. So it's actually a very practical setup, though it's actually open concept. Then this meter itself, right, is actually sitting on para cords, or should I say some kind of ropes that will also absorb the vibration from the mat itself. And please take note, when you are listening through this section here, when you're on headset, right, please don't set it too loud. Okay, I wouldn't want you guys to go deaf. And for those who are actually listening on speakers, right, you might have issues listening to it, so you might need to crank up your volume a bit. Okay, now having to say this, right, I will proceed on with the 2 tests as in 120 mm, then followed by the 140 mm. Once that is done, right, by the end of the 4 tests that I've actually done, meaning to say 120, followed by the noise test, 140, followed by the noise test again, then I'll do a conclusion and to explain to you why I choose these fans. So let's get to it. The test is done on both 120mm and 140mm fans, and right now I'm just going to conclude how I actually do the pick. So first off, right, when I did the test on either 120 and 140mm, I will actually select which provides the airflow, which you can see here, right, be it high or low. I've actually selected Nidec Gentle Typhoon. I hesitated on this, but when I switch to high, right, it does give pretty good airflow. So I've actually selected one of the choices, and also the Arctic P12 PWM and the Arctic Bionics F120. And these are the three choices that I've actually selected, which giving very good airflow. So the next test, right, that I've done is in fact the noise test. So gauging on high and low, I've actually listened to the fans itself. Of course, this is just a rating for you, but on the actual test, right, I will base on what I've heard. So when I tested all these fans, right, yeah, they have good airflow. But when it comes to noise itself, I will only choose the Gentle Typhoon and the this is actually a P12 from Arctic. Reason being, right, at low, it's running at this decibel, which is you can't really hear at all. But for the Bionics itself, right, I can hear the noise, but not so loud. When I crank up the voltage itself, right, it's still hovering on the Nidec itself, or should I say the Gentle Typhoon. I can't really hear any much noise. And for the P12, right, amazingly, yep, this is actually a pressure static fan, I do understand, but it does provide good airflow, as you can see over here. Okay, over here, see, it does give very good airflow, though it's actually a pressure static fans, which meant for radiators. So based on all the three fans that I've actually selected, right, the only ones that I will choose to be in my case, if let's say I were to build a case, or should I say a PC build, I would choose either the P12 from Arctic or Gentle Typhoon. But for Gentle Typhoon itself, right, one setback is that it doesn't come with PWM version. So it's either you run on low RPMs with a resistor or run at full. But I don't seem to have that issue if I were to run full, because it doesn't really produce noise. It's like very silent. So this is how it goes. Next is actually on the next is actually on the 140mm fans, which I've actually selected. At the beginning, I did not choose this Corsair AF140 because it's quite similar to the Fantex. It doesn't generate a lot of airflow. But when I switch it up to 12 volts, right, see, it does produce more. So I've actually taken a choice as in like the Arctic Bionics F140, the Corsair AF140, and the Arctic F114. So these are my three choices. Again, I did the noise test itself. So based on these three fans itself, right, I would highly recommend it. In fact, if you are getting case fans as in airflow, get the F12 PWM from Arctic. It's very quiet. It's like you couldn't really hear much noise. So this was my pick. And you might say that, oh, why not choose this Corsair? It does pretty good job too. Yes, the noise is lower, but looking at the airflow, right, if you were to see at high, Corsair itself is creating this much, and for Arctic F14 PWM, right, is creating this much. So you see the difference there. That's the reason I did not choose this as the overall winner. Instead, I chose the F14 PWM from Arctic. And for Bionics, right, yes, it does produce tons of air, loads of air, but it's very noisy if you were to have a higher RPM. So there you have it. I've actually tested all these fans, and this is actually how I test the fans itself. First, to select the airflow. Second, test on the noise itself. Now, there will be a bonus round. After this, I will talk about another trick that you can actually take a look when you are sourcing out for fans. I'll be right back. Bonus tips. Well, getting confused, right? Seeing so much fans down here. Well, don't worry about this. I'm just sharing with you. Now, before I start purchasing fans, right, normally I'll actually go for reviews on YouTube itself, take a look at what other reviewers are talking about the fans, and before deciding it, right, I'll do deeper research on the web itself. And if you notice, right, on my test itself, I've actually listed the brand and the model, and beside there is a ampere rating. Now, what does this do? Simple said, that this fans that has lower ampere will draw less current from your PSU. So I know it's actually not much, but if you were to calculate in terms of having 6 fans, 9 fans, or maybe those people who actually done on the O11 dynamic on daily itself, right, they can put 10 fans. So if you were to add up all this, right, it will actually draw power from your PSU itself. So this is one factor. Power consumption, you save quite a fair bit, not really that much, but good enough. 2 is at lower ampere fans, right, you tend to actually have lesser noise. Okay, believe it or not, this is based on experience, so it's up to you to believe. So normally I'll choose fans that is at lower ampere. So this is another take. Now, some of you might have been curious that, hey, I can actually make this device here. So how do I actually make this device? I will do another tutorial whereby I will show you how I actually do this device. Or for those people who are, doesn't want to actually trouble yourself in doing it, right, you can actually purchase this off from the internet. Now, you can actually, for Singaporeans and Malaysians, right, you can actually go Lazada. Just look for fan hub splitter. You have the SATA variant and the Molex variant. So what this does is actually you can connect your SATA connection or the Molex connection onto this device itself, and there's a switch. Let me just show you here. See, you have high, low, and off. So I believe the voltage is 7 and 12. High is actually 12, low is actually on 7. Don't take my words on it. So this is a easier way out. You can actually purchase this. The only bad thing is that you need to actually have a grounded mat when you place this device on the table itself, because you might accidentally short it, things like that. It doesn't come with a cover, so do take note on that. Now, for those of you overseas, right, do not worry. You can actually go AliExpress. You can purchase this too. So it's the same. This is actually the Molex variant, and this is actually the SATA variant. So you can actually hit down to AliExpress too. Just need to find for fan splitter hub, and that's it. You will actually find a list of this. So you can actually do all the calculation, as in like how much you're going to spend, how much is the delivery charges, and some of this is actually free. Alright then, I've actually shared my experience with you guys, so I hope you have actually learned something from here. Then till the next video, see you, take care, goodbye.